Rome had 300,000 soldiers, the most elite killing machine in human history. And they got absolutely violated by a desert warlord who wasn't even supposed to exist. In 270 AD, someone hijacked Egypt's entire grain supply and literally started starving Rome to death. They seized half the Mediterranean, turned Roman generals into suicide victims, and forced the emperor himself to abandon everything just to hunt them down. Plot twist. It wasn't some barbarian horde, it wasn't a rival emperor. It was a multilingual genius from the middle of nowhere who played psychological warfare so hard that Rome tried to delete them from the history books. Her name was Zenobia, and the way she dismantled the world's greatest empire is going to make you rethink everything about power.
The year is 267. Rome is getting absolutely demolished. They're in something called the Crisis of the 3rd Century, which is historians speak for complete fucking chaos. Emperors are getting assassinated every few months. The Persians just captured Emperor Valerian and turned him into furniture. Literally, they stuffed his corpse and used him as a footstool. Germanic tribes are treating Roman borders like suggestions. Plague is killing entire legions. The economy is destroyed. Civil wars everywhere. And in this apocalyptic mess, there's Palmyra, this insanely rich trade city in the Syrian desert. It's where East meets West, where Roman gold meets Chinese silk, where Persian spices meet Egyptian grain. The king, Odenathus, just got murdered, probably by his own nephew, maybe by Rome. Nobody knows, because everyone had reasons to want him dead. His widow, Zenobia, becomes regent for their 10-year-old kid. She's supposed to be a placeholder, a temporary problem. Everyone's waiting for her to get murdered or married off. But Zenobia speaks Greek, Latin, Egyptian, Aramaic, and Arabic. She studied under the philosopher Longinus. She drinks with her generals and marches with infantry. She's not some palace decoration, she's a tactical monster who's been studying every empire's weakness while pretending to be harmless. And she just inherited the most strategically valuable city in the world with battle-hardened armies that just spent years crushing Persian invasions. Everyone thinks she's prey. She's actually the apex predator.
270 AD. This is when Zenobia goes full scorched earth. While Rome's new emperor, Aurelian, is up north getting swarmed by Goths, Zenobia executes the most diabolical heist in ancient history. She invades Egypt. But not like some mindless conquest. This is surgical, calculated, vicious. Her general Zabdas rolls into Alexandria with 70,000 soldiers, including cataphract cavalry, basically medieval knights before medieval times. These aren't desert raiders. This is a professional army that's been blood-tested against Persia. The genius part? She has Timogenes, an Egyptian insider who hates Rome, working from inside Alexandria. Dude literally opens the gates. The Roman garrison gets slaughtered before breakfast. The Roman prefect, Tenagino Probus, somehow scrapes together reinforcements and retakes the city for like 5 minutes. Then Zabdas and Zenobia's forces corner him at Babylon Fortress, the military key to all of Egypt. They don't just defeat him, they psychologically break him. This Roman nobleman, this imperial administrator, is so humiliated by being outmaneuvered that he literally falls on his sword rather than report his failure. And that's how Zenobia steals Egypt. Not through some epic siege, through pure psychological domination. But she's not stealing pyramids and ancient artifacts. She's stealing something infinitely more valuable. Here's what nobody tells you about ancient Rome. They were always 3 weeks from starvation. The city of Rome had 1 million people. The Italian peninsula couldn't feed them. Egypt provided 1/3 of their grain. Without Egyptian wheat, Romans riot. The Senate panics. The empire implodes. Zenobia didn't just conquer territory. She grabbed Rome's jugular and started squeezing. But the way she flexes this power, absolutely diabolic. She mints coins with Emperor Aurelian's face on them, technically acknowledging his authority. But then she puts her son on the reverse side as Rex Imperator. She's basically saying, you're the emperor, but we're the real power. She dates documents using both their regnal years, but lists her son first. Imagine the disrespect. Imagine Roman senators opening official letters from Egypt where some barbarian kid is listed before their emperor. And while Rome is having a collective aneurysm, she's expanding like a virus. Her forces storm into Asia Minor. They take Ancira, modern Ankara. They seize Tyana. Every victory is perfectly timed when Rome can't respond. At her peak, this absolute menace controls Syria, the fortress cities, Palestine, the trade routes, Egypt, the food supply, Arabia, the incense wealth, half of Turkey, the strategic crossroads. She's not just building an empire, she's building a replacement for Rome. She sets up her own senate in Palmyra. She commissions Greek historians to write her propaganda. She hosts Persian ambassadors and Indian merchants. Roman aristocrats are losing their minds. Some are secretly impressed, others are plotting murder. But they all know one thing. If Zenobia consolidates this power, Rome is finished.
Enter Lucius Domitius Aurelianus, street name Aurelian, nickname Hand on Sword. This psychopath came from nothing. Son of a peasant, worked his way up from common soldier to emperor by being the most ruthlessly efficient killer in Roman history. They say he once killed 48 Sarmatians in a single day, by himself. When he hears about Zenobia, he doesn't send generals, he doesn't negotiate. He personally marches east with the most elite legions Rome has, veteran units that have been slaughtering Germanic tribes for sport. The first battle at Ime is pure violence. Zenobia's cataphract, those tank-like cavalry units, crash into Roman lines. It's metal versus discipline, horses versus formation, Eastern power versus Western brutality. Aurelian wins, but barely. His troops are shaken. They've never faced anything this organized from barbarians. The rematch at Emesa is even worse. Zenobia throws everything at him. Arab cavalry, Armenian archers, Palmyrene infantry. The battle is so vicious that Aurelian's own bodyguard takes casualties. But Aurelian doesn't just fight. He corrupts, he bribes, he terrorizes. Cities that supported Zenobia watch their leaders get crucified. Merchants who traded with Palmyra get their caravans burned. Zenobia retreats to Palmyra for a siege. But Aurelian doesn't do long sieges. He does psychological warfare. He cuts every trade route. He poisons water sources. He spreads rumors that he's offering amnesty to deserters. When Zenobia realizes the city will fall, she makes one last desperate move. She loads up the royal treasury on racing camels and bolts for Persia. If she reaches the Euphrates, she can rebuild. She can return with Persian backing. Roman cavalry runs her down just miles from the river. Miles from escape.
Here's where it gets insane. Nobody knows what really happened to Zenobia. Version 1, Aurelian parades her through Rome in golden chains, the ultimate trophy. But then he's so impressed by her intelligence that he gives her a villa in Tivoli, where she lives like Roman nobility. Version 2, she dies on the ship to Rome, either suicide by poison or mysterious illness, too proud to be displayed. Version 3, she never even makes it onto the ship, executed at Emesa because Aurelian couldn't risk her escaping again. The Romans deliberately destroyed the records. When Palmyra revolted again, they didn't just defeat it, they erased it. Killed every fighting-age male, demolished every monument, burned every archive. They wanted Zenobia forgotten. They wanted her story buried. But you can't bury something that legendary.
Here's what they don't teach you about power. Real power isn't inherited. It's not given. It's taken by people willing to do what others won't. Zenobia understood something brutal. Legitimacy is fake. Rules are fake. Authority is just violence with better PR. She didn't have noble blood. She didn't have Senate approval. She didn't have divine mandate. She had leverage. She controlled what people needed to survive: food, trade, wealth, and she weaponized it. When Rome said she couldn't mint coins, she minted them anyway. When they said she couldn't rule provinces, she conquered them anyway. When they said she had to submit, she made them march across the known world just to stop her. Every empire in history tells you the same lie: that their power is inevitable, that their system is unbeatable, that resistance is pointless. Zenobia proved that's bullshit. One person with the right strategy, the right timing, and absolutely zero respect for the way things are done nearly brought down a 1,000-year empire. She didn't ask permission. She didn't follow protocol. She identified the weakness, Egypt's dependence on grain, and exploited it so hard that emperors are still mad about it. That's the lesson they don't want you to learn. The system isn't invincible. It's fragile. It's vulnerable. It's held together by everyone agreeing to play by the same rules. Stop playing by their rules.
If you're ready for more stories about historical psychopaths who broke reality, the ones academia is too scared to talk about, you already know the mission. Subscribe right now. Because next week, I'm dropping the story of a slave who became a pirate emperor and made entire nations pay him tribute just to exist. Hit the bell so you don't miss it. And comment which historical villain you think would have been Zenobia's perfect ally. My money's on Hannibal. Imagine those two teaming up. This is the history they buried. These are the legends they fear. Welcome to the real game.